Hello dear audience, welcome to another little weird thing. This is sort of the resurgence of the Build Tour series, but it's something a little bit different. This is going to be the build... this is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be a build diary. So this is sort of a little documented sort of log, I guess you would say, of a build project. When I did the build tours, when I started the channel, the idea was I would give myself like a month or two to build something and then show it off. This, I'm going to sort of do not exactly the inverse, but I'm going to sort of document and record the building process, do things like time lapses and little videos like this, and then when they're done, do like a full sort of tour. Do sort of like, not like tutorials, but sort of like, I might, if I discover a good like technique or a tip, I can use these to sort of document them. And maybe even do some streams of building and stuff. So it's sort of a weird sort of thing. I don't really know what this is, but yeah. So the background for what this build sort of project is for. On the second and I guess last build tour video, I showed you round this. This is the city of Ironfall. My first sort of one of the first, like, I think probably the first project I ever did on this sort of scale, a sort of big medieval fantasy-esque city, really. I'd never really done a big sort of build. It's normally all my big sort of build projects I've done beforehand were, well, mainly TARDISes. This is the first one I had done like this, and to be honest, even like, it has its problems. It was, I was really quite proud. There's lots of bits I really do love. I love the whole, like, underneath here, there's sort of a undercity full of, like, a black market. I like these cranes I had around. I love the wall design, these sort of gatehouses I built. I like the mine. I like the, sort of ravine prison. I like how it was relatively self-sufficient. Everything was sort of contained in the wall, sort of military area over here with the sort of training dummies and so forth, and the sort of other mini prison under there. And there are lots of things that I never finished, like sort of the finer details. I was going to put a building on this large area here. Some of the buildings I think needed tweaking. The harbour area, this area sort of lacked some detailing. I was going to build a little stone bridge over there. That whole area was going to be a big sort of farm area. But while, there were bits I loved, but on the whole, of course, the fact that it's missing its sort of major castle, it was largely unfinished, and I sort of left it alone. So the name of this new city is going to be Krinnos, a mix of two Doctor Who planets. The mix of the planets Skonos and Krinnos from Horns of Nymon. Yes, the idea of Krinnos is essentially this, but amped up to 11 and much cooler, and sort of not really a city. It's more like an island. I'll sort of explain it in a minute. So my original plan for this was, when I built this city, Ironfall, it was going to be on an island, but I sort of covered it all in stone, and I sort of got rid of the sort of nature of it. That's why I picked this seed, this sort of big sort of mountain pass. But this idea of Krinnos is going to be one gigantic island, filled with not just a major city. I've got a whole list of stuff, probably if I remember. So yeah, the whole idea is I want a whole... so I've sort of given myself sort of a specification of sort of criteria of elements I want to build into the city, such as a market square, a library, a tavern or pub, maybe a few of those, a butcher, a baker, candlestick maker as seen here. I think that's the butcher, that's the bakery, and this is the candlestick maker. I do quite like some of these buildings. Some of the buildings I built, like this one. I do quite like this one. Some elements, things like a fishmonger, which I think was over here. That was a fishmonger. A big detailed dock with much more stuff, with its own shipyard, maybe a bigger shipyard, maybe more than one. A military complex, like what I've done here. So military barracks, storage, training area, like what I've done here. So again, similar areas, sort of repeated. And the rest of the island will have its own extra elements, such as a large farm area filled with full of things like wheat and potatoes, but also animals like a pigsty, chicken coop, a big barn, and a bit load of open land for, say, cattle or sheep, I guess. And of course, like a big farmhouse / mansion of the people who own the farmland. Maybe some smaller villages, small fishing villages dotted around the island. Normally when people build these sort of medieval fantasy towns, they have like a church or a cathedral. Something I realised that this city does not have. It doesn't have a sort of church. Maybe I have a small church in the city, but I like the idea of having a sort of grand sort of monastery, some big religious building outside the city, maybe on like a mountain peak, sort of overlooking the city. But of course, I need somewhere to build all this, and I could, you know, go through loads of seeds and find an interesting island big enough to fill these ideas, or I could build my own. And in fact, I have. If I give you a quick sort of a cut here, my little magic snapping finger. That was rubbish. Magic snapping finger. And here we are. As you can see, it's not much, but this is the base for the island of Krinnos. This was built using I'll think of the word, software called WorldPainter. Here is a quick overall map view. As you can see, I'm not very good at blending it with normal terrain. It is slightly lower than regular sea level. If I quickly show you a F3, as you can see, we're currently at Y50, not 60, so we're about 10 sort of blocks. Of course, with the build height being what, 320 odd. So we get an extra 10 blocks of build height with this, which is nice. This map it's about that many chunks. So you can see from east to west, at its maximum distance, sort of, is 839 blocks, east to west. So it's pretty big. Other areas. So I looked at this island and thought, can I do better? So I did this. And here we are in Krinnos Mark II. This is a much bigger island. So the last sort of east to west point was it was 839 blocks, wasn't it? So 240. So now we're at 1,455. So we have nearly doubled the distance we have, and that's a new, like, well, that might not be the furthest point. It might actually be somewhere like up here, but it's pretty big. That's still pretty freaking big. So we've got some similar sort of sections. We've got sort of this big sort of sand chunk at the top. We've got the slightly more angular sort of C shape. We'll have an island here. We've got another island here, and we've got these sort of sparse little groups of islands all the way up here, which I quite like the idea of. So maybe on these islands, maybe we can have things like, you know, lighthouses and small little isolated cabins, lots of little secret areas, and maybe there's even a chance I might put this up online somewhere. When it's finished, maybe I'll put it up on Planet Minecraft or something, and you can all download it, and you can all send me pictures of you blowing it up and drawing penises on all the buildings and stuff. Who knows? That might be quite a fun extra idea. So this is a quick mock-up of what we're going to do to the thing. Here we are in MS Paint. So what I'm going to do is sort of use this to sort of draw a very basic idea of what we want to have. So what I want is a big mountain sort of here that overlooks a sort of dock card that sort of comes out like here and like here. So you sort of tiered, there'll be different tiers, there'll be sort of a lower tier, it's more sort of sea level sort of here as well. So the mountain here, the more important about this mountain is sort of coming out sort of here will be the actual castle. So it'll be sort of suspended at sort of above the city with a few sort of supports connecting it from beneath. My main inspiration is this. This is Peladon Castle from Doctor Who. It's quite a interesting sort of castle line. So it's sort of stuck to the side of this great mountain, and I kind of want to sort of replicate that. This I will actually clarify. I don't think I've actually clarified yet. It is completely vanilla. The only other mods I've got are things like WorldPainter to help me sort of build stuff, but it is in of itself vanilla. It's also through Fabric, which means I have the replay mod, which allows me to do these sort of funky like time lapses and stuff, which I've never really done before. So it's quite another new thing for me to sort of learn. There's also going to be another sort of mountain range sort of coming along sort of here. And this will be where the monastery will go. So it's sort of, and these will be a much taller map. These will sort of go sort of to the sky limit. Minus say, I don't know, 10. So these will sort of go to like Y 300. This mountain will go to like Y 280, 290. Maybe I might have another sort of mountain maybe here and here, possibly. But I'm not too sure about those yet. And then sort of coming along sort of here will be some sort of maybe some pathways and such. Sort of going along here. Maybe there'll be some little villages sort of here. I like the idea of having one sort of in this area, possibly like a maybe coming out of here there might be some like villages on like stilts. Again, maybe that might work here with these sort of more scattered islands. Maybe, I don't know, but I like the idea of a sort of fishing village all sort of held up over the water. Like I say, in the mountains somewhere, sort of like here, there'll be like a monastery, sort of like it's quite scary little pathway sort of clinging to the skin of the mountain to the side. And then sort of the centre area is just going to be sort of a woodland area, maybe. I don't know. There'll be like farming stuff sort of here and here. Another idea I didn't really mention is I want somewhere hidden somewhere a sort of mad sort of inventor who's inventing like the hot air balloon or something. Like, I'm not gonna go like I thought maybe I wanted to add a little bit of steampunk into this, but I have a different project I have planned later which is definitely more steampunk-esque, so I'm sort of leaving it for that. But I do like the idea that there's this random guy trying to build this weird sort of hot air balloon enthusiast, and he sort of like exiled himself to the middle of nowhere. But yeah, in the heart of the island, I want a nice forest, and sort of right in the middle of it all. I might even try to do some custom trees in this as well. Is another idea I've had. But I want, sort of in the middle of it, right in the heart of the island, right slap bang in the middle, I want a pond. Completely unconnected by... Maybe I might have some rivers kicking through. I mean, yeah, from the mountains, obviously I'm going to have some streams and rivers sort of threading out into the water. Sort of like this. So there's sort of an opening of one here, so sort of having one like that. One like that. Maybe ones that sort of snake a bit further down and sort of meander through, that sort of thing. But I like the idea of having a river right in the middle, and this entire area is filled with trees. Hidden away pond with maybe an even sort of, maybe with like a mystical tree, sort of a weird sort of fantastical sort of element. It's all sort of, ooh, we don't really know, sort of like secret magic tree. And if I do put this up on line, do expect like maybe some secrets and stuff hidden away. Maybe a few like Easter eggs and stuff sort of dotted around the island if I do get that far. I don't know. So that is sort of the basic sort of opening for this. That's really just the thing. Now it's really up to me to go set up the work by starting on the more detailed terrain stuff, and I'll sort of get back to you when I've done sort of the terrain work. See you after I've done some other work. This is what the map started with, and after 2 weeks of on and off building, going through some YouTube playlists of tutorials on how to use WorldPainter, and a few of the finer world edit tools, this is what we've got. So here is the kind of official beginning of the Krinnos island. I'll talk you through. So we've got these mountains here. We have the sort of mountain range. These are the two tallest ones. This is actually the tallest one. I think it's 270, I think. Yeah, 269, 270. This is like 266. These little islands I haven't really touched. As you can see, the world is still flat, still just sand. I think one thing I will try and do is try and make the ground a bit better. I try to find some stuff on YouTube, but no. If you type in Minecraft WorldPainter Ocean tutorial, nothing really comes up. I don't know. I will leave a link to the place I did use. So the tutorials on how to use WorldPainter was a man called Lord Dakar. They have this fantastic WorldPainter tutorial tool. I mean, it's a couple of years old, but it's still like everything you need to know. Another one I found good two I found good for world edit stuff is quite an old series by Shovel and some numbers. But again, that place will also be in the description, and also a very old WorldPainter one, a world edit one by Meg Ray. That's like that's a lot older as well. But again, all these tools are still on world edit now. So for things for like drawing shapes with things, I haven't really got the skills to do these sort of myself. Yeah, I'll leave a link to those playlists in the description if you want to go check at those, because they are very good and very informative. Good for learning if you want to how to do stuff like this yourself. This here, there's a few others of these dotted around. These are the sources. So of course, geographically, a river has a source that comes from a mountain. These are holes drilled into the mountain, so the water sort of trickled through the mountain, or there's like a sort of reservoir of water maybe underneath it, sort of trickles through the mountain. So there's another one sort of here. These ones are a little bit less obvious. When there's like trees and rocks and stuff, it will sort of disguise these, so you won't really notice it as much. And the mouths of the rivers I did myself. That is just a pond that hasn't got a mouth. That actually looks a bit like a spaceship. It's like a Ferengi spaceship, or the 15 Doctor Sonic. I don't know. I think they look similar. But yeah, so this here. These are all done with different sort of techniques of using world edit sort of. I think one of these I just left and they did it on its own. I think it was this one. I sort of just left it alone and it just sort of did it itself. That's why it looks a bit jagged. Again, also I'll smooth them over and I'll change them. But that's sort of the basic so I sort of know where it's all going or how it all looks. But to be honest, from the map, it looks fantastic. Yeah, so here's one of them. So this is literally just one block of water I drilled in the hole. It's sort of a vanilla, sort of just drooping down into the water. We've got some water features here. We've got some stacks. I guess there's a geography lesson. So when you get a cliff like this, as the water hits it and it erodes, it sort of falls. It will sort of push back. So you'll get. So eventually, if this was working, so originally, so it would start with like a little crack like that, a little hole in the cliff, and then that'll turn to a cave, and that'll sort of cut through to the other side. You'd get an arch, so like a Durdledor in England, and then the top bit will sort of collapse, and you'll get sort of a stack like this, or like that. That's probably a more accurate one. And then eventually that will sort of wear away and fall into the water, and you'll get these little stumps. I think there's another. I think it's something called Old Harry something. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but that's some famous sea stacks and stumps in England as well. This is where the main city will be, and we've got a lot. So essentially, I want to go from here to here and fill this in with lots of docklands and lots of bits and bobs and different tiers and all that sort of stuff. So I've got a lot of space to fill. I mean, maybe it might not be that far. Maybe it will sort of just like leak out this bit, and there'll be like another. Then it might not fall away. But I definitely want to have it the width of the mountain. And then maybe in the next week or so, I might do a stream actually like building stuff, like on my first building one. And then maybe I'll time lapse that and do sort of a video talking about what I did, and sort of showing around and stuff. When I've done like parts of the city and start building like structures. These videos won't be this long. I bet they'll all be a lot shorter in the future as well. So yeah, this is sort of a waffly one because it's sort of the explainy one. So yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one of these, or whatever the next video of mine you see. And I do hope you see another one. Goodbye. Actually, this looks a bit like a koala now. So there's the eyes, there's a sort of weird sort of nose, and there's a red eucalyptus leaf he's chewing on. That's his teeth, and there's his ears. Did anyone else see that?
He's a funny guy, this man.